What's going on YouTube? Wild Lion Games here, and we have Axis Football 23 in front of us. They decided to forgo 22 in the naming to match up with the rest of the sports titles, which is how we ended up with from Axis 21 to now Axis 23, which is the newest release with a lot of talk of improved AI, gameplay, and over several hundred animations added to the game. How much different is Axis 23 compared to its predecessors? Is this game for you? That's what we're here to find out in this honest review with Wild Lion Games. If you're new to Axis Football, I will cover the game with the assumption like you have not played this before, but if you are an Axis veteran who is curious if you should be upgrading or not to the newest game, I do have a section towards the end of the review for gamers like you, so you don't have to sit through the entire review if you don't want to. But with that out of the way, let's begin. Graphics up first. Axis Football 23, they've seen some improved frame rate and performance overall from the previous iterations with less pop-ins, less jitters. The stadium models have seen some small improvements from Axis 21 and overall just has a more polished look. The game looks okay itself. The weather effects are still less than desirable, especially when you compare it to other indie titles like Sunday Rivals, which the lighting and the weather is incredible in that game. It is quite disappointing that over several years that we have not received better weather effects or nighttime stadium appearances for Axis Football 23. It's not an ugly game, but it's not going to wow you either. I think it's just very middle of the road. Sound.
And that's enough for a first down.
Giving up those yards so quickly. Even the mascot looks frustrated with the defensive.
Murphy on the run.
This is my opinion, but honestly, I still think the audio is bad, guys. Like, I complained about this last year in Axis 21, and while I did hear some new lines of dialogue in the commentary in Axis 23, I still found the results to be the same. It's bland. The sounds on the field fall flat, and the crowd noise provides little atmosphere to the game. Axis 23 is just more enjoyable with the sound off while listening to your favorite music or podcast or have something going on in the background. Like, the sound to me, it's just boring. And unfortunately for Axis, that's not the biggest issue they face with Axis Football 23. Gameplay. This is what everybody wants to know. We hear all the things about improved gameplay, improved AI, animations, but has it actually improved from last year to this year? Well, sort of. The animation package all around, from tackling to throwing to catching the ball, has all been revamped, and it looks a generation better than the previous Axis games. This is a massive improvement, a big milestone for this development team that has been long overdue, but animations are just animations. It has zero effect on how the game plays or controls or how the players move on the field. It just controls how it looks. So while the player interactions, the tackles, catching the ball on the sidelines, the receivers making adjustments for over-the-shoulder throws, throwing the ball on the run, yes, that all looks better, but it doesn't feel any different. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to feel like you have control in Axis 23 as your players still just glide around on skates across the field. Ball carriers and defenders animate into each other just like in previous versions, but now it's polished up with the nice tackle animation. But I often find that I don't have full control over my player, and oftentimes I actually lose control a couple seconds before and after various animations. There's a ton of examples in this review, and I'll try and bunch them all together for you. I literally just don't have control of the player because the game is still completing an animation. You don't get that pinpoint accurate control of your player in Axis Football 23 like you do in other indie titles such as Football Simulator, Legend Bowl, Sunday Rivals, and honestly, even Madden does a much better job at not letting animations interfere with the user input. But the meat of the gameplay is just like these weightless players gliding on the field until they collide with each other, creating an animation. The AI logic, that was something that's been improved. I've definitely noticed it, especially in the pass coverage part of the game. The defense is smarter. I'm no longer completing 90% of my passes by just chucking deep balls, but I do find the short range stuff is more open. The outside run is more open, but the AI logic has improved. I even went from playing on Pro to All Pro to the Hall of Fame setting, and honestly, I just Honestly, I didn't find a difference. Unfortunately, changing the difficulty, I didn't see anything new as far as struggling or smarter defense. I know the secondary now has secondary defensive alignments. I've seen the AI defensive backs auto switch, like when a player runs in motion for the CPU. I've seen my own DBs make changes on the fly before the snap, which I like. I do like that quarterbacks no longer just throw the ball into the flats aimlessly all the time for no reason. That happened so many times in the previous game. So AI logic has definitely improved. Controlling your defender pre-snap is still a nightmare. Like, you're at the risk of jumping off sides every single time. There's no such thing as just like nudging your joystick to reposition yourself, as the players just keep moving and they keep moving forward and they slide forward and then you're off sides. And it's very frustrating to make any pre-snap adjustments. So yes, while the tackling animations and all of that stuff is a nice welcoming change, the core gameplay mechanics remain the same. Franchise mode. Franchise mode is what Axis Football 23 excels at. This is why you buy Axis Football. It's for franchise mode. They beat every other football game on the market out there, including Madden. With the level of detail and attention they put in the franchise mode, it's a shame that they haven't been able to get the gameplay up to that par yet. But in franchise mode, you have the ability to upgrade your stadium and facilities and player accommodations, which it provides more than just a task to complete. It actually adds value to your team by doing various things, right? So you can upgrade your facilities, which increase the rate at which players progress. It can also decrease their injury rate. You can also increase facilities at the stadium to make fans happier, and then more fans come to the game, which in turn sells more tickets, which brings you more money, which then means you can spend that money on either updating your roster by signing players or by purchasing even more upgrades. So it actually adds value having to make these decisions, unlike it just being some sort of task to click through to get to the next game. And if you want to ignore it, you can ignore it. You don't have to do it, but it is there if you're into that sort of thing. Weekly and yearly awards also exist, along with the Hall of Fame and career stat tracking ability. All the standard features are here with roster management, signing free agents, making trades. And I also like the, they still have the practice squad in here. So if your 53-man roster is full, you sign some guys off the free agency, they'll go directly into your practice squad. Practice squad guys don't receive any special benefits from training. It's more of just to hang on to good players in case someone gets hurt. And one of the things I couldn't figure out how to do is how to cut somebody. I kept trying to figure out how to cut guys from my roster and save cap space, but that I couldn't figure out at all. Scouting still feels very incomplete. There's no added value into taking the time to scout future draft prospects. If you go into the draft settings, you can view all the prospects with their letter grades revealed. And when you scout them, you kind of get like a slight change in the accuracy of which you're viewing their letter grades, but they usually end up about the same as before you scouted them, and you still only receive a letter grade. You're not actually seeing numbers. We saw Madden take their idea of having multiple scouts based on region, which Axis has been doing for a while, but also like Madden, man, it's just, I don't find the use for it. It's a very sloppy system. It needs to be cleaned up. And right now, scouting just feels like a waste of time. I don't even touch it. I just go in and draft guys when it comes to draft day. One of my favorite things in franchise mode is the weekly preparation. It's not too in-depth. It's like just the right amount where you can set the practice intensity and focus. And you don't even have to do it every week. You can set it once and then just leave it be. Or if you really want that control, you can go in week by week and make the small adjustments that you like. And it's nice to like focus your practice on how you want to build your team. I can focus on speed. I can have my DBs train on just being ball hawks. I don't run the ball, so I can put my points towards, focusing my time elsewhere in the pass game. And the direct result is quick upgrades to those related stats for each player. The creation zone. Creating your own team is done very well in Axis 23 and improved upon from previous iterations, as you not only have the ability to customize everything on the uniforms, from the helmets to jerseys to pants and socks. And when I say helmets, I'm talking about like a matte finish, a chrome finish, the normal finish. You can go all out, even the face mask. You can now go in, you can customize the stadium, the type of grass, the color of the turf. If you want a baseball field like the old Oakland Raiders used to have, on a blue field like Boise State. It is all possible. Axis Football 23 has one of the more in-depth team creation functions in any sports game that I've seen. And finally, you can add a logo to your helmet and uniform and create multiple uniform options to run your own team, like Oregon, if you wish. Modding is also available for Axis 23. You can download NFL, AAF, and even college teams to install in the game. So if the NFL is what you're looking for, it's out there for you to download, and it's relatively easy too. So, should you upgrade? Before we get into my final verdict, should you upgrade? If you own Axis Football 19, absolutely. Axis 23 is light years ahead of 19 in every aspect. Gameplay, animations, franchise mode, the UI, UX, the team creation, the sound, everything is better than 19. So if that's the newest version you own, go ahead and buy this game. Go ahead and buy 23. I promise it's worth it. You have Axis Football 20. I would also say this is still a definite buy, as there are enough changes in the AI logic on offense and defense. Plus you have the new weekly game plan strategy. Plus you have the team creation with the helmets and the logos. Like in Axis 20, almost every game, like I could be beating the CPU team by 30 points. Their quarterback is still going to complete 90% of his passes. Defenses automatically went into field goal block when you enter the red zone. There was a ton of bugs. Quarterbacks are throwing it away in the flats all the time. And all those issues have disappeared in Axis Football 23. You can actually change team logos without having to mod anything, and team uniforms without having to mod anything. Everything can be done within the game itself. So if Axis Football 20 is the last game you have, you should upgrade. If you bought Axis 21, should you upgrade to 23? This is tough, and this is where we get into the final verdict. So, how do I rate this game? I rate Axis Football 23 like riding your bike the first time without training wheels. You know that exciting moment when you finally take the training wheels off and you get that little push that gets you going, you start pedaling and someone's helping you, and then they let go, and for the first time you make it like 10 yards without falling over, and you can stay up on your own? That's where we just got to with Axis Football 23. The gameplay may not be very good, but it looks cooler. Just like you may not have been good at riding your bike, but you sure look cooler without the training wheels on there. Axis 23 is a step in the right direction, but still in its infancy when it comes to gameplay. And if you're coming from Axis 20 or older, I think you should rip those training wheels off. If you have Axis 21, I think it really comes down to whether or not you want to spend $20 for an upgraded animation package, because that's basically what you're paying for here. Did I find it worth it? I mean, look, it's a relaxing game. I enjoy throwing up bombs to my creative receiver on the Denver Mountaineers, and as I just put up just godlike numbers. Axis Football, I think right now, is one of those games you can buy every other year. The year-to-year changes aren't enough. And so I think for me personally, coming from Axis 20 to 23, I think it's worth it. I can't really speak for 21. I didn't think the improvements were great enough from 20 to 21. And again, even from 21 to now 23, you're looking at an upgraded animation package. You can now add a logo to your helmet of the custom team. And you have some small AI changes here and there, but you just have to ask yourself, is the $20 price point worth it for just that right there? So that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you found it helpful, please let me know in the comments. If I missed something, also let me know in the comments, man. I'm open to criticism, man. I want to do a good job as a reviewer and help you guys out and give you all the information, in my opinion, so that you can make the best decision for yourself before you go buy something. And that's it from me. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and until next time, peace.